Today, we're bringing 5G. 5G, 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 5G is the 5G.
5G, 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 5G,
5G, 5G.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Think Different Podcast episode 70. That's right, the age of Frank Funk. It is 70. You were waiting for that one, weren't you, Frank?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
Won't be 70 till August, but
Yeah.
that's, I guess, close enough.
Well, you know what? That's close enough. So that means last week we celebrated 69 was his episode. So
That's right.
it's only appropriate that episode 69 is for Mr. Frank Funk. But we want to thank you for coming out for another week here. We are appreciating the feedback. People seem to be liking the YouTube, Frank. So that's always a good thing.
That's good.
Yes, and now we have our colored backgrounds. We are ready to go because we are celebrating a lot of big things that happened this week. A lot of people had a lot of reviews on the M1 MacBook Pros, Airs, Mac Mini, and of course the HomePod Mini. But before we get started with this episode, make sure that you are subscribing to our podcast. We come out with a new episode every single Friday for new episodes, unless special episodes happen like last week, and even next week, because next week, a little teaser for you, we are going to be talking about some big Black Friday things that we think you should be getting. So I wanted to preview that, and that will come out on Wednesday instead of our normal Friday. But we both worked at Apple stores. We combined up to over 20 years experience working at Apple Store as trainers and technicians. So we thank you for coming on to our episode every single week and joining us. But Frank, this week in history, we have to bring that back because we haven't talked about it a little bit. But
that's right.
That's right. But on November 10th of 1997, Apple introduced the Apple Store website, which was tied to a new build-to-order manufacturing strategy. So think of that. That's the first time they did build-to-order. I didn't even know that. Was when they introduced the new Apple Store website. So there's a really cool, I think there's this old website that actually tracks like what a website looked like back in that day. They have like almost like a screenshot of the site or a look of the site. It's pretty neat.
Well, technology has really changed since then, so things have gotten a lot more sophisticated. Things are much faster. So, probably, when was that? 1997.
And to think where we are today, where there's now an app that comes on everybody's phones to order their Apple products. And it's a pretty good app. Honestly, you could buy things on there. It makes it very simple, especially if you're going to the Apple Store itself.
Well, and it's also customized. It knows what products you have, so it shows you what products are currently compatible with the products that you have. So there's no longer any guessing, well, will this work with the model I have? It tells you right there. Mm-hmm. So it really helps.
Yes, and we are happy to enjoy the Apple Store website because honestly, since we've worked there, it really hasn't changed much. Everything's pretty much in the same spot it always been. Now, speaking of Apple website, boy, they had a lot of new stuff come out on their website this week, so we have to talk about it. Now, me and Frank do not have one of those new Apple M1 MacBook Airs, Pros, or Mac Minis. However, we did read reviews about them, and I gotta tell you, Frank, when I told you I was excited for this keynote Apple event, whatever you want, WWDC, whatever the heck you want to call it now, I told you this was my most excited for this very reason, because they are changing the game when it comes to computing now. And you have to admit, Frank, looking at some of the reviews from this, it's incredible. These Macs look amazing as far as a speed, a battery standpoint. Yeah. Like, a lot of people gave it praising reviews on how good it is.
I thought that their main focus was going to be on merging the iOS system with the Mac operating system. I was not prepared for the leap to incredible speeds, outperforming some of the previous generation MacBook Pros. I mean, it's just glowing reviews. People are giving up their former generation MacBook, 15-inch MacBook Pro, and saying, man, this thing flies. No lag, doesn't get bogged down with multiple apps.
There's a video out there that actually a guy opens up each app in his dock one at a time to show the speed on how quick it loads everything. Even a map like Mail, which to me is a little delayed, but even at even photos, like it just launches so quickly.
Now, are they on these test machines? Are they the 16 gig RAM?
Most of them are.
16.
Apple sends them whatever they send them. I mean, honestly, most of them, I think, on some of the reviews, most of them were 16 gigabytes of RAM speed. But I honestly cannot imagine it's that much different, honestly. But
Well,
I don't know what videos you watch, Frank, but what was your impression on this now? What do you see as like, let's look at the positive first, but there are some downsides that we did see some people talk about.
Well, the speed is the big thing for me now. Then, I was really focused on the centralizing the two operating systems. But from what I've been reading, New York Times article, or I'm sorry, Wall Street Journal article, this woman just says, man, this thing is outstanding. Total game changer. The MacBook Air now.
Yeah, MacBook Air now.
The best portable computer on the market with this chip.
Yep.
And that's that's really saying a lot.
I would agree. People were willing to give this a 10 out of 10. That's like they were giving it 5 stars, 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100. There's a lot of reasons why people really enjoy this because it's a subtle thing on what they're doing. No fan on the MacBook Air.
Yes.
On top of that, the MacBook Air is outperforming a last year 16-inch MacBook Pro model in what they call the benchmark, which I think is sometimes a little stupid to look at, but it's outperforming the highest end MacBook 15-inch. That's crazy. Like to think that MacBook Air can outperform that is incredible.
Yeah. It is. What else can you say about it? It's just that I guess the technicians and the geniuses at Apple headquarters were prepared for this, but I can't say that I was, or people that use Macs day in and day out. I don't think they were prepared for this. Or I shouldn't say prepared. I don't think they expected this to have such an impact. I just don't.
Yeah, and across, you look at the Mini, the Air, the Pro. I mean, those 3 have been upgraded now. And can you only imagine what the 15-inch, the iMac, the Mac Pro, what's going to look like?
That's
now,
what I was...
And the only cons that people brought up was, again, the 13-inch and the Air. There's not much of a difference in performance, actually. So it's almost like, why would you go to the MacBook Pro? Well, there's a little bit better of a screen. There's the touch bar if you think that's valuable to you, which I don't think it is, personally. So I didn't as far as getting a Pro now, it's almost, there's not much of a difference except for the fan and maybe a screen difference. But we're still dealing with a 720p camera. People said that they look a little better from the camera side, from the M1 chip, but it's still 720. It doesn't, so that's why it's like, if the camera, the webcam, like right now you're watching us on YouTube, these are our Mac cams. They're not the greatest, but you could always put your iPhone and hook it up as your webcam. You can do it. I don't want to. So you just gotta if that's a con for you, then fine. But I think this, if you need an upgrade, I think you said your wife needed an upgrade of a MacBook Air. I think this is the model to do it, and the lowest base model will be perfectly fine as long as the storage is the part that works for you.
I have some things that I want to talk about maybe next week when we do the Black Friday thing, because those people that are interested in an alternative to getting rid of the cable, I've put together some numbers that I think some people might be interested in, and some alternatives. So,
teaser.
Something to look forward to.
That's such a teaser. You're such a tease, Frank.
Yeah.
Now, also, the other product that we don't have yet in our hands, but that's also the HomePod Mini, which, again, $99 for the HomePod Mini. I will tell you, again, same deal. This is a product I want. This is one I actually am going to get. I'd rather I get it for Christmas, or I get it, by myself. I'm getting a HomePod Mini to put somewhere in my house, and I'm looking forward to having that in my home, which I've already have the HomePod, 2 of them hooked up as a stereo, but this seems to be pretty good, and the quality looks that good.
So explain to me why you would go with the HomePod as opposed to, I mean, the Mini as opposed to more HomePods.
The price, dude. It's all about price. And for
Okay.
what you need it for. It's 100% price. Yes, the HomePod is a great sounding machine that I use once a week. You know,
Okay, all right, okay.
the HomePod Mini, I think, is like if I put it around my house and like as my speaker system. Think about it. Sonos costs probably what $100 more, right? And they're
Yes.
great speakers. You have them,
Yes, I
and
do.
I had them as well. I paid $199 for them.
Yep.
And
That's the
as-
Sonos One. I also have a Sonos
Yes.
5, which is, I think I paid $4.25 or $4.90, something like that.
yeah, you got a pen in your hand. Stop clicking that damn thing.
Sorry.
Yeah, god damn it. But it's hooked. Like if you, I honestly think that what's great about this too, and this is what and some people say this is a downfall. The power adapter is actually a 20-watt power adapter. It's not a like if you look at the regular adapter on the HomePod, it's just a regular
Right.
plug in the wall. This one actually has like the 20-watt adapter. Now that could be a positive and a negative. The positive is you could just disconnect it and easily move it around and use it for other reasons. But number 2 is that it takes up room and space,
Yeah.
and that's like a little bit of a downfall. So I guess it depends where you put it, where it's going to be either great or not great.
Well, the one down side that I heard or that I read on the Mini is that it does not adjust like the HomePods do to the configuration of the room.
Correct. It does not do that. That is
But you know,
that
at
can-
$99, you know,
Yeah, you can't beat it, and you know they compared a lot of them to other speakers. You know the Echo and Google and HomePod Mini beat them all from everybody's perspective. But of course, the compatibility of smart homes is the big thing. You know, it's not as compatible as some other ones, which that is known if you're going to have a Apple product. But if you're in the ecosystem, there's no reason not to get this. This is going to be I guarantee you the HomePod Mini will be the best seller. Like I think it will replace the AirPods as the best selling because we've been there for years. AirPods
Yeah.
were always selling out. I think this is going to happen with the HomePod Mini.
So let me ask you this. If you were to purchase an Apple TV, let's say for another room in the house, would you go with the Minis as the speakers or would you go with the HomePods?
I would go with the HomePod Mini as my speaker because my reason behind that is I already have one in my main room and I have and I already have the stereo in there.
Right.
The problem is I need an Apple 4K to work a little bit better. Right now I don't have the 4K version, which is I think hurting me by not getting like it doesn't automatically go there. I have to kind of force it to go there every time, which is annoying. If I had the 4K, it would. So there's some technology that's missing that's killing me. But I would go with the HomePod Mini.
Okay.
I think they sound good enough loud enough for that.
All right. I'm compiling my Christmas list.
All right. Well, speaking of Christmas lists, you already completed yours because you already got an iPhone 12 Pro Max, my sir.
I do.
All right, so we have to hear your feedback on it. So let's talk about the change, how the experience was moving over to your iPhone 12 Pro Max. There it is on camera, and how big it is. I mean, let's talk about the weight and the bigness of it.
Can you see the actual screen or no? It's just
It's bright, but I can see it. It's sort of there.
the weight. It's a little bit heavier, but I'm not sold that I can't lift 7 or 8 ounces. 6 ounces, whatever it is. I cannot, because of the size of mine, I don't have huge hands, so I don't have to, but for stability purposes, I use 2 hands when operating it, as opposed to my 10, I would just hold it in one hand. Okay. Love the screen. The speed of it is much improved from my 10. All of my apps came over. I didn't have any
You had an iCloud backup, I
Perhaps
assume.
I did. Yes, sure, yeah. Um, so, oh, something else that we can talk about. I went to Apple One,
Oh,
so we can talk about that and why I did that. So, um, but I love the camera.
yeah. In
Still,
fact, we're going to show some images right now on screen about the camera. So compare that like to your 10, like as far as like, you know, like the lighting. Like, did you feel like it was how much better it is compared to your 10?
well, the low light I did because I took. My grandson laughed about it. I took a video of the background lighting that you see here,
Mm-hmm.
where I switched different colors. But I set the phone up and I took a video of me lip syncing to a song, and I put on a guitar like I was playing a guitar, and my grandson really got a howl out of it. He was really laughing his ass off. But the only light I had was the I didn't have any overhead lights on, and it really came out nice.
Mm.
The clarity of it, not so
Mm.
much the production quality,
No.
but that was I enjoyed doing that. The low light was really nice.
So yeah, you have like your drum set shot. You took a picture of yourself. You know, you have a couple different shots here that you sent me to look at. One, I will tell you, the one like my biggest thing is like zooming up on it. So one of my favorite shots is your drum set, like the brown drum set with like the gray background.
Yes,
I believe that's the
that's
DW.
the DW 40th anniversary
Yeah.
edition. Yes.
So that looks really nice. And now you have a light on that, or was it a
Yes.
flash? You know, now video is more my testing. Photo,
Mhm.
you know, I think, you know, I looked at the photo of just you taking a picture. The blurriness of the background looks good. I still think that, you know, again, these are not DSLRs. If you zoom in, you could clearly see, you can start seeing the quality go down, but you can
Right.
definitely get the textures out of it. I still think it's a great camera. Like I still think there's a long way to go to get to where I think everybody wants them to be. But for your everyday camera, it looks great.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
listen, for people, what do you see on the white DW, the three-piece white DW kit that's in green? You see the shadows on the wall.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
I mean, it really, I, the clarity of it, I think is just amazing.
Yep.
You know, if I was a little bit more creative, I could play off of some of the shadows and stuff like that. But even did I send you the red one?
Yes.
Now the red kit, that's my Gretsch kit. Now that's just from the light in the hall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can see all the highlights in the chrome. I think it's just outstanding, and that's just no extra lighting. It's just the hall light.
Right. And did you ever take? I'd be curious to know, like, if you ever do you remember ever taking pictures with your 10 with these images? Would you say there's a big difference?
With the 12, you know, it's the latest, and I think it's really come a long way, especially in the low light stuff.
Yeah, I would definitely agree on the low light side of it. So going forward, I mean, obviously this is going to be your phone for the next couple of years, Frank.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
you're happy with your purchase. Also, that you are, you know, even though you had to buy a power adapter.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, and, you know, the other thing you talked about, I think last week we talked about the MagSafe. I don't have any problem with the MagSafe falling off of my phone.
Okay.
I put it down there, it charges it, I pick it up, it's still on there, no problem. I haven't run into any of those issues people were talking. In fact, if I pick it up and I want to use it to talk or whatever, I actually have to, I don't have to, but I take the MagSafe off. It just doesn't fall off. I actually have to pull it off. So some of those reports where maybe they weren't using a Apple cover, maybe the cover was thicker or something, it wasn't really adhering to it, but I didn't have any of those problems.
Interesting. Now, speaking of the iPhone 12, you know, itself, iFixit actually did a breakdown, like they always do, of every Apple product, so you can get an idea of it. They found that the iPhone 12 camera repair or replacement cannot be made without access to a proprietary Apple tool, which is only available to technicians authorized by the company. So that's very interesting how they
Well, that,
they
that,
they
that
could.
doesn't surprise you, does it?
Well, it does, because in the past you could have thrown another. If you take one camera from one iPhone 12, move it over to the other, it would work. Same thing with the screen, battery, it would all work. They're finding that it's impossible for them to repair that camera. So I'd be very interested to see how Apple. We don't have documentation on how they do it, but I'd be curious to know what proprietary tool they need to get it off. And not to mention, you got to put a lot of heat on this to get the screen off by itself. So they're becoming more and more difficult to repair yourself, which again, should never repair your phone unless it's a vintage one. Unless it's a vintage one, then do what the hell you want with it. But while you have an out of warranty option replacement, please do not go into your phone and fix it. And they're making it even harder to do it. Now, also, apparently there is a training guide that informs technicians that they will need to run Apple's proprietary cloud-linked system configuration app in order to carry out camera repairs or replacements. So now they have to run a proprietary software, probably running from iOS Diagnostics, which we used to run all tests to confirm that it works. There used to be this camera test that we would take a shot with a picture, and there's like a color ball or a way to know that the colors are all correct. Well, it wasn't. It was more like eye to eye. It was not like you could there was no failure. Now they have an actual test that they have to run. So it's going to be interesting when it comes to the repair. But again, do not repair your phones, people. You're gonna waste your time.
That's it. If you think you're going to go to the mall and have somebody replace your screen, and it's not going to work.
Now with your iPhone 12, by the way, Mac Rumors obtained an internal document that Apple has acknowledged issues with some iPhone 12 displays exhibiting flickering, a green or gray glow, or unattended lighting variations under some conditions. Yep. So they shared a document to AASP, which is Apple Authorized Service Providers, saying that they're aware of the issue and they're looking into it. So we already have a problem with the screens. Now, this happened with the iPhone 10. If you remember, there was like a green line that was appearing. This is kind of similar to something like that. A lot of complaints have been going on about it, and right now there's no way to fix it as of right now.
Let me look.
Yep. And then just so you know, if the issue appears to occur when the brightness is set to around 90% or lower, is when they experience the flickering. So we don't know if it's a software update or we don't know if it's going to be a fix, but we just wanted to let you know about it. That way you could say, but guess what? That didn't happen on iPhone 11, people.
Oh, the brightness, I have my brightness set. It's maybe
it's some customers.
60%. Well, I'm a customer.
Yeah, but you're not. It's only some displays, and not yours.
Yeah.
But if it happens, Frank, you have to come on air and you have to tell me and show me that.
All right, will do.
All right. Now, following protests, Apple is going to allow the Peanuts special to air on PBS. If you remember, a lot of you probably don't remember because we never reported on it, but Charlie Brown is basically exclusive to Apple TV+. They were going to not allow Charlie Brown's Thanksgiving or Charlie Brown's Christmas to air on broadcast television. It was going to be exclusively, it was going to be exclusively on Apple TV+. Well, people were not happy about that. And after all of the protests, Apple is going to provide them ad-free to PBS and PBS Kids on November 22nd, 2020 and December 13th, 2020.
It's funny you mention that now because I was watching that with my youngest grandson, and my sister said, she happened to be over, and she said, I missed that this year on regular television. And I said, well, I don't think it was on. And now that you mention that, because she was like, well, that's kind of odd. We used to watch it every year. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And I didn't even think of that. So there you go.
Yep. It's interesting why they were that hardcore, because they just want to get people on the platform. That's all they cared about. But I thought that was like, for a channel like PBS, who's like, it's a non-profit, like, television organization.
No, don't say it's non-profit. It's a taxpayer. It's a taxpayer station. So it's we're paying for that. Okay, plus
Yeah.
people that donate to it.
Someone
But
actually there was a comment that said these folks who were protesting were doing so online. They have internet access.
That's right. Yeah, and the other thing is too. I'm sure that Apple paid a good penny to get that franchise on Apple TV. So,
Yeah.
why don't they look at the whoever owned it? I don't know, Schwartz Foundation, or whatever it is.
Right.
Or Schultz, not Schwartz.
Someone
Schultz.
also wrote that, well, clearly people who cannot afford high-speed internet do not deserve to watch Charlie Brown. He's kidding, but that's pretty funny. Now, the last thing I wanted to bring up today for this show was the Apple Store fee cuts. There's a big cut that they're doing. Now, you probably read about this, that they are going to, for apps that I believe, if a developer is making $1 million or below, Apple is lowering their fees to 15% over the 30% that they normally take.
Yeah. So
you read about that, right?
Yeah, I did, and I was like, how's that going to affect the epic battle?
Now, do you think it's a response to that? Because I'm going to say yes. It's a way to say, well, the rich people, I'm not going to take it down, but for those who, are new to the platform or they're not making as much money, that we're going to help you out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, my position on it is, if you did a book, it would be the publisher would get more than 30% of your book. Now, granted, they have to put out, they got to get the print, they got to store it, they got to ship it. So there's more involved. But nonetheless, the author, your intellectual property, you're going to end up with less than what Apple is giving the intellectual property of the developers. And they're presenting the developer with a huge, absolutely huge market. Something a publisher can't guarantee. So for me, the 30%, I would like. I didn't think it was a bad deal at all.
No, and Epic's losing this battle, might I add, on this as well. Spotify is still up there, but again, is against Apple. They're against the whole thing. But they realize that if they do the same thing Epic's doing, they are going to have a big problem.
Yeah.
They're just too important to be on iOS to destroy that. Apple does say expects the App Store Small Business Program to generate more digital commerce, support new jobs, and provide more funds for small businesses. So, again, this is, I think, a direct response to it, but they're not going to give these big corporations, because, hey, Epic's not a small group of people here.
Right.
They make a ton of money, people.
Right.
So does Spotify. So don't even tell me that they're hurting. They're not hurt.
It's not like Frank and Will putting a program together in our basement and publishing it on the App Store.
Right.
Yeah. And then, the other thing is, too, I've noticed that Call of Duty is getting a lot of advertising in the App Store.
Gee,
Call of Duty.
I wonder why.
Hey, who knows? They're just lucky, I guess.
Yes, that's true, too. But that's our episode for this week. I thought I'd come up with a couple more articles here. I was so excited about the Apple M1. I think it's a terrific direction that Apple's going in. And I think, again, this is the future, folks, of the computers. And it's gonna even apps that are supposed to be Intel-based Macs apps, and they're running better than they were, or just as good. Apple's hit a home run with this. I'm telling you, this is going to be a change in the computer market.
Other than the camera, it beat all expectations.
Yeah. All we got to say is, I'm telling you, next year, if they come out with this new MacBook Pro and they put a 1080p or a 4K camera or Face ID into it, and they gotta get rid of the touch bar. I'm sorry, or have the option to add the touch bar if you want it. for $100. They have to give more custom options, and if they could start improving it, this is the perfect beginner Mac. And also, businesses also have to try to work around this now. And one of the biggest things I think I'm going to start seeing is, are businesses going to be able to use the Apple M1 for all the things that they need? And so I think from a consumer standpoint, they're on the right track, but I think they also have to make sure that businesses can work with these new M1 devices.
Well, think about what it's going to do about distributing applications across all of your business machines. It's going to make it a lot easier, just like your iOS devices. They can be completely controlled by your network people. If you don't want someone to have, or a group of your employees to have access to the App Store, you can block that. You can monitor all the activity on there. Just complete control. I think it's going to be a big boom, big boom.
Yeah, let's hope. I hope more people will. I think this will help lean people more towards Mac. I really do, especially with Big Sur, coming out as well earlier this week.
Oh, I updated the Big Sur.
Oh yeah, and how is it going so far? How's it going?
Great. It has some nice features in Safari. I liked it. Tells you all of the apps it blocked, or the advertising and who was trying to track where you were. So it has that built-in security in Safari that I like. Mm-hmm. All of the apps run well. I haven't had any problems with it. So far, so good.
Yeah, it takes me about a month to upgrade because I always have that fear. So
may I jump in?
Yeah,
man.
well, you jump. Well, the problem is I'm going to be making a lot of changes on my computer if I do this upgrade. So I really have to be very cautious of doing it.
Well, I expect by next week you'll have the new MacBook Air, and you'll be running with 32 gig of RAM, and you'll be flying through everything.
I wouldn't have 30. There's no such thing as 32 gig of RAM, man. There's only 16. God damn, there's not. So, folks, we want to thank you for another great episode of the Think Different podcast. Frank needs to go take a nap, and we are enjoying this week. But we'll be back a little early next week because it's time to talk about some great Black Friday options that we think are the best for you. Until then, I am Will. That's Keto, Frank Funk, and we will see you all next week.
Peace out.
5G is the 5G.